This call is being recorded.
Shalom alaikum, and welcome to another mystery of revelations that I'm bringing about today, these last days. And for the record, as we get started, today is the third day of a 7-day extension count in care of the midway point of our 360 days a year solar calendar. And of course, the midway point of 360 days is calculated as 180 days. The solar calendar is much different than the lunar calendar. In fact, our solar this year is being observed and recorded as 6,027. And again, that is of our solar calendar. And we have 360 days, exactly 360 days per solar calendar year. And we're right now at the halfway point. Again, we're into our third day of a 7-day count. And that was extended because of 2 leap years that this planet experienced since 2020. It being that this year is also a leap year, 2024, and therefore we will add 7 days to the end of 180 counts that end in September of this year, September 5th. That way we'll be right on time for the 15th day of the 7th month, which would be the first day of the Feast of Tabernacles observance. And that would be, according to that calendar, on September 26th at sundown. Now, with that said, today is also known by the Gregorian calendar as Sunday, September 8th, 2024. Again, today observed by their Gregorian calendar as Sunday, September 8th, 2024. Today is also being observed by our nation of Hebrew as Shabbat. This is Sabbath day, and that will be until sundown. That means that our Sabbath is now being observed from sundown Saturday to sundown Sunday. And that will be an observance until March 9th of their next calendar year, which is 2025. And that is when our Sabbath day would then rotate from Sunday, March 9th, to Monday, sundown Monday, March 10th, 2025. It rotates. So keep that in mind. And it will wait all year. And then we will not add 5 days onto our count at the beginning of our year, as the hypocrites Judah are doing now. They continue to do that. As they continue to follow one another, they are following one another in their own groups. And that, of course, is being chaperoned by the Peace Foundation, period. Nevertheless, I said that to say this in 1 Corinthians chapter 14 and verses 1 through 5, which says, I quote, "Follow after charity and desire spiritual gifts, but rather that ye may prophesy." And verse 2, "For he that speaketh in an unknown tongue speaketh not unto men, but unto God. For no man understandeth him. Howbeit in the Spirit he speaketh mysteries." Verse 3, "But he that prophesieth speaketh to men to edification and exhortation and comfort." Verse 4, "Speaketh in an unknown tongue, edifieth himself. But he that prophesieth edifieth the nation." For example, as I pause here for a moment, in verse 4 of 1 Corinthians chapter 14, let me point out to you something in another Old Testament that's called 2 Samuel in chapter 14. In verse 15 it reads, and I quote, "Shobin ok no gamokben." Let me and men, Hono Connect, Zo Redeem, Dean Bostos, Folks, Mock Bang, Didi Follow Maka, Gadashe, Eh, them, Connect within, Connect, our stone, Wasani, Makshak, end quote. That was German, which is being defined in the King James Version Holy Bible book of 1 Corinthians chapter 14 and verses 1 through 4 as I quote, speaking in tongues, end quote. And that was barely one tone of several of Europe, which is the of the Germans. This has been misconstrued by our people for hundreds of years, and even today in the churches, as it being Sunday, that our people right now, especially who call themselves sanctified, they and holiness, they are speaking in gibberish and not in tongues. What I mean when I say gibberish right now, Sunday. That's not speaking in tongues. That's speaking foolishly in gibberish and making an ass out of yourself in fools. That's not speaking in tongues. That's not what the Bible is telling you. Speaking in tongues is different idioms of different nations of people in their tongues. And the German tongue is one that you can understand if you speak English. In fact, did you understand what I said? Or do you understand me now? If you understand me now, then you understand English Creole. And this is not English. This is English that Judah is speaking today. And this is the English's tongue, as I now complete verse 5 of 1 Corinthians chapter 14, which says, and I quote, I would that ye all spake with tongues, but rather that ye prophesied. For greater is he that prophesieth than he that speaketh with tongues, except he interpret, that the nation receive edifying. That's in verse 5. And now, I'm not going to give it a moment, as I now conclude by using verses 19 to 22 in the same book, chapter 1 Corinthians, chapter 14, was not quote verse 19. Yet in the church, in the nation, I had rather speak 5 words with my understanding, that by my voice I might teach others also, than 10,000 words in an unknown tongue. Verse 20, brethren, be not children in understanding. Howbeit, MLS, be ye children, but in understanding be men. I repeat, verse 20, brethren, be not children in understanding, howbeit, MLS, be ye children, but in understanding be men. Verse 21, in the law it is written, with men of other tongues and other lips will I speak unto this people. And yet, for all that will they not hear me, said the Lord. 4, verse 22, tongues are for a sign, not to them that believe, them that believe not. But for prophesying serveth not for them that believe not, but for them which believe. End quote. I repeat, I must repeat verse 22 again. Wherefore, tongues are for a sign. Tongues are for a sign, not to them that believe, but to them that believe not. But prophesying serveth not for them believe not, but for them which believe. End quote. And now let me interpret of what was said in German in care of Samuel, actually 2 Samuel chapter 14 and verse 15. I'm going to now share that notation with my angels, my holy angels here in Miami, Florida. I'm going to explain it to them in English, which reads, and I'm going to read that. Here's what that reads in 2 Samuel chapter 14, verse 15 in English. It reads, I quote, now therefore that I am come to speak of this thing, come to speak of this thing unto my Lord the King. It is because the people have made me afraid. And thy handmaid said, I will not speak unto the king. It may be that the king will perform the request of his handmaid. End quote. Now, word in this verse of 2 Samuel chapter 4, verse 15 is the word afraid in English. And what is the most fierce thing that the people in the world fear the most today that was hidden in German, in the German tongue of the same verse, the same book, the same chapter, that was not mentioned in this tongue, but it brings about fear. So what is it? What was it that you heard? Probably the only word that you could have understood. Well, the word was bang. Whether it be in German or in English, it brings about the same fear. Bang, bang, as in the barrel or the pipe of a gun. Now, I will edify that in private to my holy angels. So come to Miami if you want to hear and know my many, many, many different secrets, and many secrets I've sealed and now loosing, revealing. With that said, I say, Shalom Aleichem. And to my people, stay safe, Judah. Stay